Well, thanks everybody. Those of you that have introduced yourself in the chat there, I see we've got quite a few people on, and if you haven't introduced yourself, feel free, go ahead. We'll go ahead and get things going though. My name is Brian Peck. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing here with Mazévo. And if this is your first Mazévo Connect, welcome. We do these every month, usually towards the end of the month on various Mazévo topics. This month, we're going to be talking about new features in Mazévo, some of the new stuff that we've released over the last several months. So should be a really good one today. If you haven't been to these before, or even if you have, we've done some really good ones here recently, some good Mazévo Connect webinars. Recently, we've done ones where we've done deep dives on the Mazévo confirmation and the different ways you can use that, on the public calendar, on billing and invoicing. And what we typically do with these webinars is we will then kind of turn them into a blog article. So if you want a refresher on the topic or something like that, and you prefer to read something rather than watching a recording, you can go to our blog and you can check those out there. We also have all of the recordings from every single one of these webinars we've done for the last 3 years up on our YouTube site. So if you just go to YouTube and punch Mazévo in there, you'll come to our YouTube channel where we have all of these Mazévo Connect recordings, as well as other training videos and various tutorials that you can check out. So that's definitely a resource if you haven't been there before. But as far as announcements goes, I just have a couple of announcements here. You've probably seen in the last day or so the little banner that's popping up on your Mazévo system that we're going to have some system maintenance here on Friday evening. And so the Mazévo system will be down for a few hours then. That'll be starting around 9 o'clock Mountain Time. So it'll be well after hours, so it probably shouldn't affect most people there, but just FYI, that will be going on here this Friday evening. I also wanted to extend a welcome to some new Mazévo customers. You may or may not be aware, but this is our busiest season of the year. Our business is very cyclical in that we have a lot of customers that like to try to implement as much as they can in the summer. So that tends to equate to an influx of new business for us. So I just wanted to extend a warm welcome to some of our newest Mazévo customers here. We've got MIT that has just joined on board, Bucknell and Ursinus College, both out in Pennsylvania, Boulder Valley School District out here in Colorado, York College in New York. We've got a few new business units from University of Washington that have just joined on, University of Georgia, and finally Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. So anyways, I know several of you are on this call today, so welcome. We're excited to have you on board and are glad that you're in the midst of implementing Mazévo. So without further ado, I'm going to just quickly introduce our other Mazévo staff that are on this call, and then we'll jump into it here. So as far as staff goes, and you may or may not be able to see them in your Zoom view, but we've got Wendy Newlin here and Joe Finley. So many of you have worked with one or both of them before. There are key implementation specialists for Mazévo. I've got Claire DeGroat, who works with me on the sales side here. And then finally, Dean Evans, our CEO. So today it'll be Dean and I that are going through these new features here with you. And we just have a list of things that we're going to go through. Now, as we're going through, we would love some feedback as we're going through, and we have everybody muted, so you're not going to be able to just like start clapping or hooting and hollering because we're not going to hear that. But you can put it into the little chat window over there. So if you see a feature that gets you all excited and you're like, ooh, yeah, we could use that. That actually would be valuable for us. Give us a thumbs up or put something in the chat there so we know. And likewise, if you're like, hey, why aren't you doing this? Or, did you think about that? Or we don't like that thing or whatever, that's fine. We can take it. Criticism's okay too. So you can put that in the chat as well. But this is a great way for us to get feedback because a lot of times, that we just don't get that. We release a new feature and then we can kind of see if people are using it a little bit on the back end, but sometimes it's difficult to tell how much, if any, of an impact these things are having on your operation. So this is a great way to give us some feedback right here. So go ahead and put it in the chat there. So, all right. Well, that's all my opening words there. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to go first here today. And let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So bear with me while I bring this up, and we'll get things going here. Go. Okay, so we're just going to go through the list of things, and I've kind of got them organized into just various areas. Where I'm going to start with things is on the Mazévo public calendar. So as most of you are probably aware, Mazévo has a public calendar component where you can determine if you want to show specific events to like your audience at large there, whether that's your university or people outside of your organization, things like that. So what I wanted to start with here is we recently, over the last year, we've been kind of cleaning up the view of the calendar. So I don't have a view of the way this calendar used to look previously before we did some updates. But a few months back, what we did is we kind of cleaned up the look and feel of this. We wanted a kind of a cleaner look to the calendar when people come to it, and just make it easy to view things and browse things, stuff like that. So we kind of changed the layout a little bit here. One of the things that we did too is we were a little bit inconsistent before with this little filters button right here. It wouldn't always show up depending on what view of the calendar you were in, things like that. So we made that a little more consistent. So when people are viewing your calendar, especially if it's a calendar like this where there's just tons of events and things, they can hit the filters button and filter by type of event or location, calendar tags, things like that. And then they can apply that themselves. So that's much more consistent now, and that's out there. The other thing that we did with this too is, you notice in my calendar here, we're automatically putting the logo up here. Now this logo does change. So if you've uploaded a logo, say, that goes onto your confirmation for your organization, that's the logo that's going to appear on the calendar. So you have control over the logo and also this color of this bar right here. So you pick a color that matches with your logo. So, but what we've done too is we've seen that some of our customers want to embed this calendar onto their web page, like in it's called an iframe. It's kind of a technical term, but basically you click a link on their web page to view the calendar, and it inside of their web page, there's a little frame and it shows the calendar. Well, people that do that, a lot of times, they don't need the logo up there and the name of their organization in this area. So you can turn that off now too. Here's an example of what that looks like, right? So if I had this page in an iframe, you can see here, it just doesn't have the logo up there. So anyways, just some little tweaks that you can do with the appearance of the calendar there. So, all right. The next thing I want to talk about a little bit is the mobile app. And so I'm going to do a new share here. And where did my sharing button go? Bear with me while I switch this up here. There it is. Okay. All right, I'm going to bring my phone up here now for everybody so you can kind of see this. So as many of you are aware, back at the beginning of 2024, we sunset the Mazévo mobile app that you download from your phone's app store. So if you were going to the, Apple App Store or the Android App Store to get Mazévo, you don't need to do that anymore. You now access it in the browser of your phone. So in my case, I could bring up Safari here, and you see I've got Safari on there. Now, what we recently added, we got a lot of feedback from people that they were like, oh, the browser thing, it's hard to get people to go and log in and go to the website and all of that stuff. So what we recently did is we've provided a way where people can shortcut this so it works exactly like the app does in the App Store. And so the first time that somebody brings it up on their phone, they're going to see this little screen, and you can see there's two, we hope they're simple instructions for people where they can add Mazévo to their phone like it's an app, right? And so you follow these two instructions. So it's telling me first push the share button. And so here on I'm in Safari, but I could do this in Chrome as well or whatever browser I'm using. I look for that little icon. And so here in Safari, if you look at the very bottom of my screen in the center, I've got the share icon. I hit that. And then if I scroll here, you will see I've got a button that says add to home screen. That's what they just need to do this one time, and that adds the Mazévo app to their phone, so they don't need to, go to the browser and remember the website and all of that stuff. It'll do that for them. So they add it to their home screen. And once that's done, it's going to look just like it does here on my phone where I've got the Mazévo app. You can see it's down there in the second row at the right. And so now, anytime I want to use Mazévo, I don't need to go to Safari. I don't need to go to Chrome or any of that stuff. I just hit Mazévo and it brings it right up for me. So this is what it'll look like. The other nice thing, when you do this, if you've been running it, in your phone's browser, you always have the little URL bar on your browser, which that kind of takes up some real estate. So when you shortcut it on your phone's home screen, at least on an iPhone, the way I'm running it here, I think it's the same for Android. It gets rid of that URL bar and just gives you more screen real estate. So again, it just gives you that kind of app feeling so that it's running, it feels like you're just in another app that way. So anyways, that was a big change for us there. And we did that change because we can deliver a lot more features to the app a lot more quickly than when we had to go through these different phone app stores and things like that. So that just allows us a lot more flexibility than we had previously when we had to maintain another app that way. So anyways, that was one of the changes that we did. We've done a few minor touch-ups as far as operations goes. This operations is one of the probably most heavily used features on the phones. Okay, so this is typically the feature that gets used the most. So we pay a lot of attention to that. We've done some minor touch-ups, like we added a search bar on the bookings page here. So if I'm in ops and I'm looking for a particular event, maybe I can either search by the name of the event, but I can really search by anything. So I can start typing in the name of a room, and it will find, whatever it is I'm looking for here. Here's one that's in the lounge, right? So you can do that as well. So just some nice little things there. If you click on any of these, another thing, we've just added a few more fields on here. For instance, like the status, you can see is now showing up. That wasn't showing before. So that now displays on there. So also for VIP events, if you're in review events, it will tell you if you are using the VIP indicator, that will show up on there too, but that's in review events that way. The one thing I did want to point out is work items. So for those of you that maybe haven't used this quite as much, when I'm in operations, there's a bookings tab. So these are all the bookings that I have today that require setup of some kind. But then there's also this work items tab, and you see mine has a little number 2 right next to it. Work items are things that aren't attached to bookings, but they're things that I want my operations staff to still do. So you can see here, I've got an example for like audio visual I want them to do a monthly AV inventory check today. So that's showing up on my list of things to do, right? And then facilities has one as well on their list of things to do their daily facilities tasks. And so I can, go through here and I can actually mark these off as started and not started, in progress, or completed. And once I mark it as complete, that takes it off the to-do list for both myself and anyone else who's been assigned that task that way. So that's what that is designed to do. Now, what we've added here is something we call a roll forward option. So let's say I've got this monthly AV inventory check that I'm supposed to do today, but I don't get to it, and maybe the other staff didn't get to it either. So it didn't get done today. Well, previously, if the day's over, we said, well, that task is done. We don't need to worry about that anymore. We don't need to show it. It's gone, right? Well, some of our customers came back and told us, it would be kind of nice if nobody marks that as complete. Could we just leave it on there so it kind of reminds people or gently nags them like, hey, we still need to do this, right? So there's now a checkbox that's available where people can go in and you can, when you create this task, you can say, yeah, just roll it forward. So if it doesn't get marked completed by someone, keep it on the list until it is, right? So that was one thing we added there for ops as well. So, all right. So that's the that one. I'm going to go back into my desktop now, and we're going to switch back over here for that. All right, so back in here, I want to go through some reports items now at this point and show you kind of some of the updates that we've done for reports. So the first place I'm going to go is the daily operations report. This is one of probably the most popular reports that people tend to run because your operations a lot of times depend on it if you're not using the phone for everybody for what's going on. But a few things that we've done here that I wanted to point out. First off is there's this new print grayscale checkbox. Now, you may be like, well, why did you put that in there? What's the deal with that? Well, when I go to run that report, if I don't have that turned on, it's going to run it and it's going to put the bars in here in whatever color I've determined for my standard color, right? So let's just, come on here, let's get this thing going. So if I do that, it's gonna, so in my case, it's blue, right? So I've got blue as my colored bar. That's what I'm gonna see. Well, if you run this on a colored printer and you're actually printing this out for your staff, you can go through a lot of print toner and things like that. So what we did is you can now run it in grayscale if you want, and instead of whatever your default color is there, it's gonna put it in this gray color here. So you can see here, right here. So it's just gray. With that, it's going to save on, probably some printer ink costs, things like that. So that's an option. The other thing we've added here is there's this column over here for both the event coordinator and the attendance. So we added attendance. We kind of sprinkled that around on a few reports. We had some requests for people that was like, hey, this would be really handy if we could at least see the attendance on this report. So that's what that is showing here. So each booking will now automatically show the attendance right there. The other thing I wanted to point out is, let's see here. There's also, we added the link to the room diagram on this report. So now just a word on that. If you're actually printing this report in hard copy and delivering it to people that way, this link isn't going to do you a whole lot of good, other than maybe they'll be aware that there's a diagram there, but they obviously won't be able to click it. So this is just more for people that are viewing this report electronically. You can at least get to the room diagram and click it if you're on your computer that way. So that's there, and that kind of keeps things more consistent with where we have the room diagram elsewhere in Mazévo that way. All right. Also on reports, this one's pretty minor, but if you actually use the service orders report, and I'll just bring that up just so you can kind of see what this looks like. This is just, it's basically printing each order on its own sheet of paper. We now let you show pricing on there. So if there is a cost for the item that's showing on the report or items, that will show now when I check that box. So just a little more flexibility. That probably is not going to affect a lot of people, but because this tends to be more of an internal report, but it's sometimes nice to see the pricing. Okay. Another one on reporting is our published reports. So if we go back in here, most of you are probably aware that Mazévo allows you to save your reports. So when you create a report and you get it all filtered and all the settings the way you like it, we let you save that report. We call that a published report that way. And it gets added to the list of published reports, which is right up here at the top. So if we click on mine, you can see I have all kinds of examples of different reports that I've saved, okay? Well, the second thing that Mazévo does is not only can you save the report, but you can also subscribe to a report. And that just means that the report will be delivered to you on a regular interval, whether that's every single morning or once a week, whatever interval you want right here. Well, one of the things that we recently added, again, this is kind of small, but it will help some of you, is under this manage subscriptions. I'm just going to click one of these reports here. As kind of the report administrator here, I can decide who I want to be sending this report to every day, and I can just subscribe them. Now, these are all Mazévo users that have the ability to access reports, right? So if I want to, subscribe Claire to this, I just hit subscribe. I pick the days that I want her. Maybe, she doesn't need it on Saturday and Sunday, and I hit save, and now she'll start getting this report 5 days a week, each morning that way. What we added, the new feature here, is this add email. This wasn't here before. So now, in addition to adding Mazévo users to get the report, you can add external emails to this. Now, you may be asking, well, why would I want to do that? It probably would make sense, the most sense, if you have like an external service provider. For instance, you have a caterer that's not part of your organization. They're part of an external contractor, but they still need to get this report. You can plug their email in here if they don't have an email for your organization, or the one that an access to Mazévo. So you can plug anybody's email in here. Now they're going to start getting the report emailed to them on whatever interval you pick right here. So anyways, that's just kind of a little review on the published reports and how that works, and the new add the external email. Those of you using our academic features, we also have academic reports up here. So I'll just, a couple of minor updates that we did there is we have some analytical reports for our academics. And this allows you to analyze like room usage, subjects, things like that. So if I want to look at my room usage here, I can do that. But we added some new filters. So now you can filter it by room type and by subject. So maybe you're just looking for, I want to see my utilization for chemistry labs or something like that. These filters would allow you to do that. So you've got that way. I think we've got somebody that's unmuted here. Let me just see if you could just have you mute yourself. That'd be great. All right. So that's the academic reports there. Last one, kind of minor under the reports, is room cards. If you're a user of room cards, you probably use this quite a bit. But under room cards, we've got this new checkbox here to display the header. So when I run a room card, there's always a header up at the top. And in my case, it's showing my logo. So I've got the Mazévo logo here, and then my organization name second. Well, depending on the type of frame you put these room cards into, or how they get, attached to the wall, sometimes you don't really need that logo up there or your organization name there. So we now let you turn this off. That's all it is. It's kind of a minor thing, but it can be a big deal if you print a lot of these and you're running these every day for a lot of rooms. So you can see I just turned it off right here and it's gone away. So that just makes it more compatible with certain frames and where people put those on there. All right. And then finally, analytics here. If you've been using analytics for a while, one of the things that we've done with analytics, or the way that it used to work, is you would run this, and if you were looking at your room usage, maybe for your entire campus, and you move this to all, you would get a graph. I'm just going to use the top 5 here just so we can see it. Oops, I didn't mean last year, but that's okay. So here it gives you the pie chart, right? Well, we had it give you the pie chart before if it was set to all, and you might have 300 rooms. It's trying to put a little pie chart together with 300 rooms, right? And that's just not very useful for anybody. So we removed that altogether. One thing though that I did want to show you, and I think this should come up relatively quick, is a lot of people don't know this. If you run this for a period of time, for many months, like I'm going to run it for last year, and we let you do this for up to 12 months. What this will do is this is going to give me a breakdown by month of my room usage. So unless you've tried to do this, you might not know this is here. This has actually been here for a while, but I just wanted to highlight it because it is kind of a subtle feature that a lot of people don't know about. But if you want to get a breakdown, and this works for any, this could be a list of customers if you wanted. What I'm doing here is I'm showing a list of room usage by the number of bookings, right? And so there's all kinds of ways you can break this down. But the nice thing is I've got it by month in here. So I've got everything totaled at the bottom, right? So I can see where my busiest months are, which rooms were busiest during the month, things like that. And this goes into Excel really, really nicely. So if you're just trying to, get that year-end data or whatever, this is a nice thing that we added in there. So, all right. Last thing I'm going to show you before I switch it over to Dean here is some updates that we've done to the requester side of things. So if you're using Mazévo to take requests for your spaces in here, we've continued to enhance that side of things here. So I want to go through a few of those here. So I'm currently logged in as a Mazévo Global Administrator, and I have access to the request menu that my customers have access to. This is something we did a while back too, because if you're an administrator, a lot of times you need to see what are my customers seeing? How are they interacting with my request form? What's it look like for them? What's their experience? So as a global administrator, I can see what they see here, and that's what this menu is all about. So first thing I'm going to go into here is my events. We did several changes here. So my events is the list of events that I personally have submitted as requests for space or whatever. I'm not seeing anybody else's events. These are just ones that I have put into the system. These are all my events, and I can tell right from here if they're booked or pending this way. So one of the things that we did is we cleaned up quite a bit here with how people can make changes to their events. So I'm going to click on this ASC development meeting right here. And you can see this is a meeting that has 3 bookings on it that are happening on these 3 dates. We added quite a few things that make this a little more flexible for people. For instance, over here, I can turn on or off old bookings or canceled bookings. So by default, we're only going to show you the upcoming bookings that are going to happen. But if I'm like, well, show me the canceled stuff, here we go. So I do have one canceled booking that I went in and canceled previously. So you can see here, and it's got the little lock symbol next to it because it's canceled. It's not going to let me make any changes to it that way. So I can show or hide those. They're hidden by default. Same with the old stuff. So if I want to see, these are the previous bookings and these are the upcoming ones. And again, we lock down the ones that are old so they can't make any changes to them there. So that's one thing. And then the other thing that we did is we made it a little more consistent. Those of you that use Mazévo on the back end to edit events and approve things and stuff like that, you're used to these little check boxes, right? Making changes to things. So we expose that to your requesters as well. So if I want to change the room on those 2 bookings or the times, the dates, what have you, I've now got those similar options that you have in the event editor that way. Also, if I need to cancel those, just hit the trash can and I can cancel those two or whatever I've checked that way. So that's one of the things that we did. The other thing is people can click on these individually as well. So like if I'm like, oh, this date, I want to make a change just to this one, they can click that. And now I'm looking at just this one booking here that's happening on July 8th. But notice what we did is we add the little pencil right next to each of these. So that just lets me know, oh, I want to change the date on just this one, or the time, the room. I want to upload a room diagram, that kind of thing. So previously, they could do some of this stuff, but it just wasn't quite as easy. So we cleaned that up a little bit. The other thing they can do here too is they can add resources. Like if I just want to say, oh, on just this date, I want to order some catering or something, I can go in, add resources, say I want to add catering, hit next, and I want some assorted beverages and some donuts. So I just select whatever I want, and then I can go ahead and add that. Oh, I was expecting it to ask me a question here. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. But that was going to be another thing. So another thing that is changed here is that when I select an item and I hit add, it should have asked me a question right here. And it should say, hey, because I have a question that's keyed to catering that says, hey, do you have any food allergies? Right. And so that was something that didn't happen before either, is that these event questions, we've made that now, it's consistent all over the place. So if they add new stuff, make changes, and that triggers a question that you normally ask them about this stuff, they're going to get asked. So in my case here, I don't know why that failed, but it should have asked me a question was earlier. But anyways, so that's the event question here. So that's in there. Also, I can, oh, I know why. It's because I already answered that question once for something else. But here, we also let them edit their event questions now. So this was the question that I was expecting to pop up. Do you have any dietary needs or restrictions? I had previously answered that. That's why it wasn't asking me again, because I said, nope, I don't have any. But if I hadn't answered that before, I would have been forced to answer that. So just like normal, these questions are required. They cannot submit changes or updates without answering questions that you require that way. But the other thing that we added here is they can change their answers to things. So previously it was locked in forever. They would answer the question once and that's it. And but now they do have the option. They can come back here, and if I say, oh, I don't need this AV assistance anymore, I'm going to flip that to no. I got it all figured out. I just hit no there and I hit save. That now I've changed my answer to the question. So you may be asking, well, how do I know about that? They just went in and made a material change to their event, right? So if we go back and look at my bookings, they've all been changed back into pending at this point, right? So that puts the whole thing back into pending. You on the back end will get alerted like, hey, they've made a change to their event, and you can go in and see what they changed that way. So that was another big thing that we did there with the event questions with that. Let's see here. Couple other last things I'll show you. So those are some changes with the edits. A couple other things we did too are with requests. So I'm going to do this add new request so you can kind of see, and we're going to put in, I'm going to put in a quick sample request for you here. So give it an event type. I'm with admissions for 8 people. So I fill in my information. This is all pretty much the same as it's always been here. I'm just going to pick a few days, 2 to 3 o'clock. I hit next. Okay, so now as a requester, one of the things that we've exposed here are these little favorite hearts right here. So I had previously went in and said, these are the rooms I like to use the most. So if I check them as a favorite, which is literally just clicking or unclicking the heart, that's all you're going to do here. then Mazévo remembers that for me. And the next time I come in here, it's always going to move those to the top of the list. So I don't have to go search through a whole list of rooms, right? So it's like, okay, great. This has the room I like, room 130. I'll select that, pick conference. So that was one thing we did, is the favorites right there. Go through this. I'm going to skip any services. I don't need those for right now. But then this next area right here, this first question, for those of you that are newer to Mazévo, we let you write your own questions that you're asking people, and they are required to answer them. So this question that I have here first that I have to answer is about insurance. And it's like, yeah, I do have a certificate of insurance. Great. Well, this is the new thing right here, upload files. So you can actually ask people to upload a file for you when they submit their request. And notice it is required. That's why I do suggest you always pair this with another question, because if I got here and this first question wasn't asked and it just said, hey, upload your insurance certificate, and I'm like, I don't have one, and I've got nothing to upload, that's it. You can't go any further. So that's why I'm asking first. But I just upload my file here. So I'll just pick a random file here, select that, and then move on. So I've uploaded my certificate and I submit it. So now, as part of their request, you will see the file upload that they added. It's one of the attachments on the event that way. So anyways, here's the event that I added in. So that's probably the way you're familiar with adding requests into the system. Just as a quick review, people can also request from the event book. So here's what the event book looks like. Probably aware of this. One of the new things we've done is we added the word in use to all of these bookings up here. So they're going to see, sometimes maybe for your first time user, they might, not quite figure out that those mean that they're in use or not, but I can see by looking at that they're in use. Now, in some cases, I might have a booking up here that does display what's going on in the room. That's if it was my booking that way. So if I go out to a date that I don't even remember where I have one, but it would tell me if it's a booking that I'm in charge of, it's going to go ahead and put the name in there for me because it knows it's mine. Otherwise, we obfuscate who's in the room, what's going on in there. That's by default. It's just going to let them know, hey, it's in use, right, with that. But this is what I wanted to remind you of as well, is that people can request the room right from this view. So if I'm looking at this, and let's go out to tomorrow, and yeah, I want to use conference room 1 in the afternoon or something like that, I can go in here and I can fill in, my request right from here. So people can request right from this view, which, depending on the type of booking you're trying to do, if it's just a single booking, this is definitely a fast way to do it. But then finally, we added one last thing, which is this book room function. This is a brand new function that we added in here. It's a new request form that wasn't available before. And the reason we added this in is because some of you have a use case where, let's say you have a lot of study rooms or meeting rooms that are booked kind of the day of, or just, one-off meetings, things like that. If you do a heavy volume of those kinds of events, then this add new request is fine, but it's geared a lot towards like repeating events or, one-time events, things like that. But this book room is to be, it just helps things go really, really fast if I just need a room for one time. So let's say I'm looking at, for later today, I want a room. Now I can see in here, and this is kind of subtle, but these times here that are in gray, I can't click those because that's when the room's in use. So what this view does is this lets me know, okay, in my student center, what rooms can I have starting, like right now, or maybe later today or something like that. So if I want conference room 2 starting right now until 3 o'clock, I could just go ahead and select, as far out as I need it, right? Maybe I only need it till 3. You can see I just keep clicking things. I want it till 8:30, I can do that. So it's just you pick and it, will fill that in. So it's great for these kind of one-off events. I'm not going to book things that are repeating events or anything through here. This is just, I need a room right now or later today, tomorrow, something like that. So I select that, I hit next, and now I put in, you give it a name in here and the event type. This is all kind of standard stuff, right? And now room setup, you probably wouldn't ask that for these types of rooms, right? And this is all configurable as normal. And I hit continue request. It's going to ask me if I need any services or anything like that. I don't need anything. I'll answer any questions that are up here and I submit it. So that's kind of how that new book room option is available. That is an optional thing. You do not have to turn it on. Dean will be showing you here in a moment how you can turn that on or off. I think by default it's off for everybody. So if you haven't seen that before, you're like, what are you even talking about? It's probably because it was off by default. But you can turn it on and it'll just show up as book room. And so yeah, you can now actually turn all of these options on or off depending on if you're going to use them. I think except for my events, probably can't turn that one off. But anyways, I'm throwing a lot out there, so I'm going to rest my voice at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to let Dean take things over at this point.
Okay. Oops, don't look at that. Okay. I'm going to go kind of quick here because I got a lot of stuff to show you. Again, these are just changes that we've made in the last year. So the first one I want to show you is in find invoices. So as I go in here, you've always been able to click on the invoice number and pull up a preview of the invoice. What we added recently is the ability to click on the event here and open the event so you could get to it over here. So there's a couple ways to do that. It's kind of a nice little creature comfort there. Next thing I want to show you is an activity log. I don't know, doesn't seem like a lot of people use the activity log, but if you're trying to find new bookings or bookings that were changed within a given time period, this is a great way to do it. So this activity date, this is when was it added or when was it changed? And I don't care when the booking occurs. If you went in today and added a booking for next year, I want to know what bookings were added to my system today. So that's what this is. What we've done though, the secret sauce here is we've added the ability to filter this. So you can now do this by user. So if I want to see what Brian did today, I can go in and filter by his name. So all we did was add a new filter selection here. And then when I hit search, those are all of the bookings that Brian touched today. So when I say touched, he created them or changed them. So again, the only secret sauce there is the new filter. Over under approvals, if you're an approver, we've done a few things over here. We've increased this history to show you the last 90 days. It used to be 30 days. So now if you go in here, you just get to see more history there. The other thing we've done here is when you drill into an approval, we're now showing a little bit more information. We're showing the bookings, we're showing the resources that they've requested, and we're showing the event questions that they filled out when they made that request. Under data glance, this is used by a bunch of folks because this is how you find your requests. One thing we've done here is we've added an event coordinator column for you. So that's there. The other thing you can do, it originally came in that you could only filter this by building, but now you can filter by room tags. So room tags are a collection of rooms. So if you wanted to see, in this case, request for large venues, you could do that. And we'll see if we have any here. May not have any in the system. But you can use room tags for your filtering there. Of course, I picked something that takes forever. So let me just get out of there. The other filter we put in here is you can then filter by status. Now, these are all of your request status that are of pending behavior. So you could filter this list by status when you couldn't do that before. For the people that use the dashboard, we've added a couple of things. For the people that don't use the dashboard, I'd encourage you to click this icon right here because the dashboard just kind of gives you some data glance what's going on in my facility. So what you do on a dashboard, and you can create your own, or you can use somebody else's dashboard, but you can put these little widgets up here. One of the widgets that we added was show me the number of events by event coordinator. So that's a new widget. The other thing we've done is when you look at these, you can then filter by the type of room in the building. So there's a couple more filter options that are available here. These are 4 widgets right here, but I can also add other charts to this. So I'd encourage you to go in here and look at this and give it a try. It's pretty handy to have, and you can set this as your home page. So when you log into Mazévo, this is the first page that you see. So just want to point out one little thing in the event book. You know that when you hover over this, you get the tooltip and everything. And there's that little white drop down arrow there. If I click on that, it gives me some tools. And I don't know whether anybody's ever clicked on that, but you can open the event from there. You can also just double click on the bar and it'll open. But you also have some tools here. The one tool that we just added was copy booking. So if you wanted to make a copy of that debate booking, you can simply do it from right here. And you don't have to open up the event and go to that booking and hit the copy option. So you've got some tools right there. So it's a little handier for you. So let me go into an event here. That is not the event I wanted. Let me go to my data glance and open it that way. Large venues, of course, I've changed all this. Let me hit search. My lunchtime weavers meetup, my favorite group, the basket weavers. So when you come in here, there's a couple of things that we've done in the editor here. And the first one is, as you start making changes to something that's still waiting for approval, we clean up these approvals right here. And what I mean by clean up, if you came in here and changed the event type on this and you had an approval that was triggered by event type, we'd add a new approval record. If you had catering on here, in this case, we have AV. If I delete this AV item, it's going to remove this AV approval. So we've done a better job of kind of cleaning up the approvals and adding new approvals as you make changes to these things. Now, I want to show you a message here. If you go to your approval tab and you see this message, all that's telling you is, wait a minute, all of my bookings are in a status that's not pending. Okay, so you've already processed it. It could be tentative, it could be canceled. But when you go to approvals, your approvals, if you had any, they wouldn't really be active because you've already moved beyond that particular point. One other thing we've exposed now, for the folks that came from EMS, and there's a few of you out there that enjoyed using the booking ID. So every booking has a unique ID in EMS, and we have the same concept in Mazévo. And here's the booking ID. We just exposed it. We kind of tried to hide it because we just kind of tuck it away because most people don't use it. So we put it over here. If you wanted to, you could use that booking ID and open a booking by typing that number right here. That would take me to the same screen that I'm on here, so I'm not going to do that. But that's one thing you can do. there is a conflict icon that some of you may have seen or may not have seen. So if you ever end up in this situation, so I've got two bookings here. I tried to book conference room 1 and 2 the same day, and one of them was already in use and it's in conflict. Well, this little icon right here allows you to click it and show you, well, who is in conference 2, who's in the room that I need to get. And so you can actually open up this regional debate tournament and look at it if you wanted to, and it would open in another tab. But it's just really easy now if you click that information icon to find the conflicts. Let me go to another event here. Just type it in. I don't know that anybody knows that you can even do this, which hurts because that just means we didn't tell you that you could do it. But did you know you could take any of these columns down here and drag them up and sort your data down below by that column? So it's grouping all of the bookings that start at 8 a.m. and all of the ones that start at 1:30. Now you can do that by any one of those columns, and all you do is just drag that up to this little gray bar right here, and you can group them. Another one that's like that. Let me go find my event that I put in for you. So I'm going to get rid of Brian's here. And lots of bookings. This is the one I keyed in today. So here I've got 20 bookings. The more bookings you have, the more useful this is. So you could actually come up here and say, well, I want these grouped by building. And then maybe, now this is kind of crazy, but I want it grouped by room setup. So you can actually have multiple layers in there if you wanted to. So that group by, again, if you're filtering stuff like that, that's pretty handy. One thing that we've put in there quite a while ago is the ability to search. So if you're looking for things that are on Monday, you can just start typing Monday in there. And if you're looking for everything on the 4th of July, you can literally start typing the date in there and it'll filter your list to that date. One of the other things we've done, very subtle, probably didn't know it was there, very handy. If you click on this organization here, it opens it up and it's showing you your primary contact and your organization. If you click those are now links. If you click that, it opens up the organization for you. So if you wanted to see the other events for Acme, you're just 2 clicks away, one to get here, one to show the list of events. And again, you can do anything. So that just saved you the key steps of going from here to organizations, finding it. It's all in one button press right from your event editor here. Same thing with the contact. So if I click on that contact, it's going to pull it up. And I just happen to have a bunch of contacts named Dean Evans. But if I go to this first one, I can go in and click on that and make changes to those. So a couple creature comforts there. Other things we've done in advanced find events, we've added quite a few new filters here. So I'd encourage you to come down and look. You've got VIP, private events. You can filter to a billing code. You can also filter by the answer to an event question. Well, it's actually the event question. You'll get to see all of the bookings that are tied to that had that question on it. So some new filtering options in advanced find events. Couple of tools that I want to show you for administrators. I know we're getting close on time here. But if you go up here, if you're a global administrator, these tools are in here for you. There's a couple here, administrative tools. If you want to find organizations that haven't done anything in the last 3 months, 6 months, or year, you can come in here and say, well, I want to find organizations that haven't booked anything in the last 6 months. And here's a list of them. And what you can easily do is from here, you can mark them as disabled. So again, you could check all of those and disable them in one keystroke. Same concept for inactive contacts. If you're trying to clean up your contact list, you could do that here. Of course, I hit the whirling dervish. And there they are. Another tool, we've kind of lumped it in here. It's not really the same as the first two, but if you ever had a contact that you wanted to replace on all the events, or an event coordinator or an organization, we see this with people that use event coordinators. You could come in here and say, John's no longer with us. I want to find all of the events that John's an event coordinator on, and I want to change those and reassign them to somebody else. So there's a tool here for that. Couple more tools. We're going to go right to the end here.
Dean, by the way, I mean, we got some really good stuff here. So if you want to go a little long, everybody else totally understand if you need to hop off. We are recording this, so you can catch it later. But we have some really good stuff. I'd hate to cut it short. So
okay. We have a new tool here called Delete Old Events. Now we've made this. The idea is you want to go clean up history from a couple of years ago. So for those people that came out of EMS, you could literally go in and delete things instantaneously during the day. What we do now is we kind of present it in this, I want to add a request to delete. And it gives you all of these warnings, and it's permanently deleted. It's not an archiving tool. It is a delete tool. And you can only run this if you're a global administrator. And you could come in here and I want to delete everything, and it won't let you come up to within 1 year, right? So I can't say I want to delete everything yesterday and before. So you have to go back at least 1 year. So if I went to 06, 01, 2023 and hit delete, it's going to come up and say, well, wait a minute, you're going to delete 13,000 bookings. Is this really what you want to do? So it's telling you how many to delete. Yep, I want to do that. And I say yes. And it puts a request in for this to be deleted. Now, we wanted to make sure, because a lot of people have too many global administrators, we wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance to go, is this what you want? So when you put this in, we're going to wait 7 days before we actually perform the delete for you. And it tells you here, it's not going to delete until after July 4th. Well, when I put that request in, it automatically emailed all of the other global administrators saying that Dean put in a request to delete the old data. Any global administrator can go, no, I don't want to do that. And they could come in, go to the same screen and hit delete, and it's going to remove the request for the deletion. So we give you this way to back out of the whole thing, right? Because the delete is permanent. Once it goes on July 4th, in this case, 7 days from now, it's gone, okay? So that's a way to keep your data clean. In conjunction with deleting those old events and bookings, what would happen is that could free up some of your organizations. If you had organizations that hadn't booked recently, you can come into the organizations or contacts, and this is the one I wanted to show you, is there's a cleanup utility. And this is in about 3 or 4 spots, but they all kind of work the same way. And it's best if you do this after you've run delete old data, because then in this case, all of Brian's organizations have been active. But if I click this box right here, it's going to show me all of my organizations, the total number of events, the first and last booking date, and this date the organization was created. So because this was created within the last year, we're highlighting that so that because if I added an organization yesterday and then went in and cleaned it up, we don't want you to accidentally delete the new organization that you just put in. So we kind of highlight those for you. But again, you can't do anything with these because all of these have been active, and they have bookings out there. So if you ran delete old data and you came in here, you will find a list of organizations that you may be able to clean up. Okay. So let me go to contacts for Brian here, and I think we'll see it here. If I hit clean up, here's a contact, just happens to be my approver testing thing, that's never had any events and was added in 2021. And I can go ahead and delete that contact right here. And it'll let me clean that up. So that's kind of the way that you would do that. Okay. So that cleanup tool is also over here on rooms and resources and on approvals and scheduled emails and event questions. Because if you're cleaning up old data and you had an event question that you used a year ago, but you don't use it anymore, that cleanup tool would be a way that you could go in and clean those things up. So I'll just go into event questions and say clean up. So here are some questions. Again, we built these, but they've never been used. And you can see when they were created and who created them. So we're trying to give you enough information there so you just don't go, oh, well, I'm going to delete it. So we still keep an eye on, well, if it's tied to an event, we're not going to let you delete it. Okay. So there's quite a few little cleanup tools that are in there. Some other things in settings. One thing that's been asked for a lot, let me go down to the student center down here, my conference room 1, just so you know, you can actually add multiple images now. And then as a requester or anybody that can see the images, you will then be able to see all of those images. And as an example, Brian's got a PDF in here with the default conference layout right there. So again, multiple images. I'd encourage you not to load up a 35 megabyte image there. We wouldn't even let you. Try to keep those relatively small, because if you're using the requesting process on your mobile phone over a cellular connection, you don't necessarily want to download really big images if they want to look at those. So some other changes here, event questions. A couple things that we've done here. You can now trigger an event question. You can trigger an approval based upon an event question. Okay. And you can trigger a task. So secondary approvals can now be triggered to a question, and tasks can be triggered to the answer to a question. Now it can't be a text answer. It's got to be a pick one of the answers, A, B, C, yes, no, but you can have these triggered based on those answers. So keep that in mind as you're building out some workflows. Scheduled emails got a couple of new features in here. When you add a scheduled email, you can actually change the trigger. So if you wanted to do it for this, let's say you had a scheduled email that you wanted to go out for the Colton building, but only if it's confirmed. So you can now pick statuses here in conjunction with the other trigger that you're using. Okay. And then the other thing that changed with scheduled emails is you've always been able to send before the event and after the event. That's how you do a post-event survey. Before each booking is kind of that nag, hey, you have a booking tomorrow. So, if I booked every Monday for the next 3 or 4 weeks, you might want to remind them, hey, you have a booking, this Monday. So this would send multiple emails, one per booking. This is another way to do it. It's how many days after the event was created. So if you've got hey, thank you for putting your event in, you want to send them an email a couple of days after it was created, you can use that as well. And the other thing you can do on scheduled emails is include a confirmation link on any of the scheduled emails, and it'll put a link in there. So when they get the email, they would be able to view their confirmation. So a couple nice things in scheduled emails that we did there. Security for requesters. Couple of things we've done here. I don't have time to go into global security groups, but if you have a lot of different rules and they apply, the conference rooms can only be booked by these people with these set of rules. This global room security group allows you to define a set of rules for a room one time and then apply it to any of the policies. So that's a kind of a time saver, and it makes maintenance of those policy groups easier. Managed service providers, we put this out probably a month or two ago, but you've always, when a requester booked a room and then added resources to that room, it always followed the same date pattern. And what I mean by that, if they could only book a room 2 days out and no more than a week out, I'm trying to make an example here. Let's say they had a very short window to book space. The services would go with that, okay? Now you can kind of break those apart. Here's an example. If I've got a room that's self-service, that means I can walk up and book it right now, and I want to book it. Well, that doesn't mean you should be able to put catering in there right now, because the catering team cannot react. They need 48 hours or 72 hours. So you can actually configure the rules for catering different than you would say AV and things like that. So you could actually put policies in place here that says catering needs 48 or 72 hours at a minimum, even though they might have, booked the room for right now. Okay. So that's what you can do with some of these additional changes here. Brian alluded to the fact that you can change what tools the requester sees, and those are right here. If you click on the policy itself, you have some options, and here they are right here. So those turn on and off the options for that book room, which is the new tool that we added. You could turn off the event book if you wanted to. We see a lot of people turn off all events, and then you could literally turn off add new request if you wanted to force everybody into one of the other tools. Okay, so that's how you would manage those. Just a note there, as you're making changes to those security policies, typically those aren't going to take effect until a user logs out and logs back in. And we've seen a lot of people, hey, it's not working. Well, first thing you should do is log out and back in. If you're a global administrator and you're testing your changes, you'll want to go out and come back in to get those loaded. So let me look at my list. Users, just a little minor creature comfort. If a user's never logged in, I think this said 12/31/1969 at like midnight or something like that. And people were like, why are you doing that? Well, I think Troy was on here. If there's anybody that's really geeky, that's the magic starting date. We've just kind of cleaned that up and we put it as a blank now, so you don't have to worry about that. The other thing you can do for a requester is you can actually come in if you have requesters. And so Claire here's a requester. You can turn on or off the ability, requester by requester, to specify setup and teardown time. And we put it here because we just don't think you want to expose setup and teardown to your requesters. Now, I could be wrong, right? I think that's more of an advanced thing. If you ask me for setup and teardown, I'd say, I don't care about setup and teardown. I want the room at 10 o'clock. I don't care that you have a half an hour buffer in there. So you really don't want the requester to be specifying that time. It's more of an advanced user that you'd want to allow them the access to that, but it's user by user for requesters with that checkbox right there. Let's see, just have a couple more left here. Room signs, if you use room signs, oh, went too far there. We've done something a little bit easier for room signs to configure a new room sign or make changes to an existing room sign. When you go into manage devices now, every one of your devices has this magical device number that we assign to it. Well, if you click on, let's see here, conference room 1, this is the URL. This is unique for that room. So if I take this URL and copy it, now this copy button is only useful if you're testing it on your own machine because you can't copy that to your room sign. So you're going to have to write it down. But what happens is if you say copy that, and I'm going to go to another browser here, you can paste that in up here, and it just happens to be the same one. And so that's all you need to do. There is no more signing into the room sign, picking the device, or doing that. This is our new method, and it should be much, much easier going forward to, make adjustments or add new room signs to your system. You simply put that URL into the browser on the room sign, and off you go. You don't have to log in here anymore. So hopefully that is much, much easier to do. Other things we've done here on a room sign, you can actually turn on or off whether this can be booked. And if you say, I want somebody to be able to book it, there'll be a button right here that says book room. And they click that and it shows a QR code. They can scan that with their phone and it automatically takes them into Mazévo and they can book it. There's a new feature here that you can book anonymously. Let's see if I've got a room here that's got that. Well, let's just do that. And if I get lucky here, oh, no, I can't configure it quickly. When you configure anonymous, you're going to want to, you're going to want to go here, and then you get some booking defaults. So you're going to say, what's the default event name, org, and contact for one of these anonymous bookings, and what status does it go into? So it'll automatically book the room because it's not going to prompt the user for what's their name because there's no keyboard on the room sign. So one thing that you could look at right there. And I think with that, the very last thing I want to show you, we have an option to do branding. So if you don't like our color scheme, oh, no. Let me do it from here. Let me log in real quick. Sorry, close my window. So as you log in, normally you're going to see our color scheme that you've got here. If I'm going to change to this demo org 2, that's got more of an obnoxious color scheme, but you can brand the entire site and you can change the logo. So this would become your school logo, your company logo would go here rather than Mazévo logo. So you can kind of private label the whole thing. And all of that's done. It's just a checkbox for us. There is an additional charge for it. But whatever the logo is and the color scheme, that automatically goes through as your branding colors. So just wanted to point that out. And with that, Brian, I think I'm done. A whirlwind tour. So
Nice.
sorry, everybody, we kept you late. So,
Yeah, sorry about that, but we do appreciate you that are still on here, hanging on to the end. The chat has been just on fire. People are asking lots of questions, which is good. Dean, do you want to just give a very, very brief overview for Carrie on global security groups and how a room can only belong to a global security group and not a security policy?
sure. Let me go back over to my little demo
This is
here.
this is pretty high end, everybody. So just so you know, if your head spins a little bit with this stuff, that's okay. we'll help you through it. So
if I create a global security group here, and I'm just going to say this, if all of my ballrooms, I don't care whether you're the president of the university, the math department, the basket weavers, everybody that books my ballroom plays by the same rules. Okay. So you got to start with that. Does this group of rooms all play by the same rules? Now, the reason you have security policies is so you can manipulate that and say, oh, students play by one set of rules for these rooms, and the same rooms play by a different set of rules for another group. But if you ever have the option where you can say, well, I've got a set of rooms, I don't care who's booking them, they always play by the same rules. So what you're doing here is you're setting up those rules, and I'm just making this up. I want to say they can only book it within, after they got to give me 48 hours notice. And if I come in here and type in my ballroom, let's see, Brian doesn't have any ballrooms, so let's call it the well, let's
multi-purpose.
just go with that Bellator gallery. You would pick more than one room here. I'm going to go to the student center. If these, that's going to be bad because that's going to wipe out Brian's rules. Let me pick my study rooms here. If all of my study rooms play by the same rules, you would select those, and when you save this, then
And
you
that will,
take the,
yeah.
what's
Sorry.
that?
Sorry, Dean. No, go ahead.
Okay. When you save this, it's going to say, I'm taking, if you've used those 3 study rooms anywhere else, I'm going to take them out and change them and put them in to this global room security. So then the next thing you would do, I hate to do this, Brian. This is going to.
Yeah, don't do that. But basically what he's doing is he's saying those study rooms for every single person who ever requests them in Mazévo, regardless of their security policy, are gonna play by the same rules for all your users always. So it's just a way, if you've got 10 different security policies and you have some rooms that are the same on every security policy, they all always have the same rules. The global security policy lets you it just eases the maintenance of that. That's all that it does. It yanks them out of the old security policies, and now all of your users can only play by one set of rules for whatever those rooms are. So anyways, it's kind of advanced, but hopefully that helps. So
Yeah. The idea was making the maintenance of those so you didn't actually mismatch the rules of those rooms. They always were consistent. So, yep.
all right. Well, let's see here. I think we've got through most of these. Oh, I see some more chats have come in. Yeah, we'll look at those. But I know some of you are still got questions coming in. We got to cut this off. So we'll follow up with you offline on some of those. I know some of you have some things we need to probably dig into a little bit more. But we do appreciate everybody's participation today. This has been great. I hope this stuff has been helpful for everybody. And yeah, and if you haven't given us some feedback already, send us an email, give us a call, whatever. We're happy to hear from you. But this has been great. And also your ideas too. You have other ideas for things that you want to see in Mazévo, you can always send those to us. We're going to be working on some ways to, collect more of that from people going forward, because that's the main way we get ideas from people is just, what are you doing with it and everything like that. So, but again, thank you everyone for your participation, and I'll be sending out something soon on what we're doing for next month. So enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.